Thank you for watching the forum. I'm your host, Ashley Tate, here with my co-host, Christy Largent. And today we have a pretty outspoken woman here with us. You may know her from the Safe City Project. She's the founder, and her name is April LeFranc. And she's going to be speaking with us today about how she got this started. I don't know how you do this. She's also the owner with her husband of Woodstone Construction. And she's made time to gather the community and start the Safe City Project. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, it's pretty
So
amazing
tell
what
us,
you're doing here.
okay, I've had a lot of people go, who is this April girl? I never heard of her. Where did she come from? So how did you end up in Reading? We're so glad you're here, by the way. We love what you're doing. So tell us, what brought you to Reading?
So the original plan was to come stay in Northern California for a year. We were running businesses on the East Coast. I'm from Portland, Maine. Long ways away.
Long ways.
We were going to come to Reading for a year for an adventure, and once that year got started and we started exploring the North State, my husband's a fly fisherman, we're rock climbers and backpackers and love rivers. And
Reading's perfect.
Yeah, Reading really, the community and what was available here really won us. And so then we had some explaining to do to our family, who we had told we'd be gone for a year and come back.
That's
wow.
amazing.
So how long have you been here now?
So 5.5 years now.
Oh, okay. So a while.
Yes.
Yeah, you've settled in.
I have, yeah.
Settled in enough and enough to gather 1,000 people. I keep saying that because I'm just impressed that you come here and made that happen. But what was kind of the impetus for starting Safe City Project, and how did you start it? Because I don't really know a ton of what Safe City Project's about, but give us that background and then kind of how you started that.
So I think part of it was I came in to Reading with some outside eyes. I'd lived in another city, I'd visited many other cities, and so I came to one where I was new. And so I saw such great potential in Reading. And I felt like, wow, we should be so proud of this community. And I also recognized there wasn't as much community pride as I would have expected. So I was talking to some people about the potential of Reading, and specifically some leaders in Reading. I had just been on a trip to Bend, Oregon. Have you been there? And that city has so many of the same elements that Reading has, but they've really capitalized on some things that we haven't yet here. So, casting this vision with some leaders in Reading and saying, what if we did this? And what if we took these field trips to other cities that have some things that we have, but they've built on them? And I kept bumping into this question, well, that'd be great, but what are you going to do about crime in Reading?
It's a pretty big deal here.
It is, and I said, well, other people are doing things about crime, or should be. I'm interested.
Is that why we have the police house for?
Yeah, I'm interested in talking about the potential of a city, but it kept coming up. It kept coming up, and that was sort of the question in the hearts, I guess, of the people that I was talking to is, well, what are you going to do about the pain that the city's in right now? And so it got to a place where I was like, well, what if we did try and do something about it? And had this wild idea, what if I got a group of people together who spent 3 months examining the criminal justice system in Shasta County and talking to many community leaders about what are the problems, what do you think some solutions are, and then looking at other cities who have lowered their crime, what programs did they implement, and then what's feasible in Reading.
Now I'm going to stop you there, because that's a great place to start, but it's pretty impressive to start there. Do you have a background in that?
No.
I mean, doing like an analysis of the city and getting people together and knowing where to start? I mean, that's pretty impressive for just someone who's come to the city and wants to make a change. So how did you come up with that part of it, like the analysis part, and how did you know what people to pull together and all of that?
Well, I think a big part of not necessarily what qualified me, because I didn't have a background in criminal justice. It was really the entrepreneurial part of myself. It was, I've had businesses since I was 21, and when you come across a challenge in your company that's causing you pain, that you're losing money, or people are complaining, you pour all your resources into it to assess it, to find out what possible solutions are, and then you get busy implementing.
I love it.
So it was really from that perspective. And as far as who to contact, to talk to, I built what we called a Shark Tank team in Reading. So Ed Rollman with C.R. Gibbs and Best Western Hilltop.
He's been a guest our first season.
Yeah, he's wonderful. And he's so well connected in the community. So for me, for someone who hasn't been here forever, he was an incredible resource.
Yeah. And he wants to do well for the community. I mean, he is, well, you know, the Crime Watch and everything. It's kind of interesting to see all these things bud up and become something, you know. So, okay, so keep going.
So, also, Mike Dahl, former mayor, very well connected, and Mike's perspective, he understood the political realm. I didn't really have much experience with politics, and so he kind of understood more of that area where Ed understood business, and then Jason Schroeder, I don't know if you've heard of him, and so he really understood the neighborhood perspective and had some connections and some momentum there.
I'm really impressed, April.
There's some great people who live in this community.
No,
so
absolutely.
I happened to get connected with them, and they just offered a lot of wisdom.
So you came up with, you did your 3-month study, and you presented your findings. And that was that the one that was at the school?
That was at the Civic Auditoriums. That was November 13th, 2014.
With 1,000 people?
Yeah.
I just have to keep saying that because it's pretty impressive.
I think people are interested in this. You did what every good entrepreneur does. From this angle, you get into the middle of the conversation people are having, and you present some solutions to the needs that people are already expressing, and that's exactly what you did. You tapped into that vein that every one of us are feeling. You know, we were burgled last year. We feel the need for a safer city. We're just one family among thousands who feel the same way. So when you presented your findings, how did that go?
It was, well, we were really happy with the turnout. It definitely could see this resonated in the community. The amount of support, the applause during, and the engagement from the community of saying, yes, we're ready to move forward, and we're ready to, a big part of the Safe City Project was not just here's 11 solutions and ideas to ways we could reduce crime, but it was the city's worth building.
Right. And I love that. But the interesting thing about this whole thing is I love that you went with, not with what you actually wanted to do, you went with what you felt like you were being asked to do.
Yeah, definitely.
And so that's, exactly, the need. But it's really interesting how, so hold on, before I get too far into this, I keep on giving you all these compliments. Tell us a little bit about some of your solutions that you did come up with.
Okay, I'm just going to go through them really quickly. Number one was a reserve police force, which a lot of other communities in California have this. It's a volunteer police force with retired trained professionals.
That'd be great on the trails.
Yes, it would. Neighborhood turnaround. So this was about neighborhood watch groups and stand-up Reading and kind of helping people who live in a neighborhood that they want to come together and make it safer. Some changes in code enforcement and calls for service. Specifically, we talked about hotels and motels and how to reduce crime there based on code enforcement. Opening up a sobering center, community court system, renovating a jail annex that's on
Radio Lane?
Yes, Radio Lane, thank you. Starting a new county work camp, expanding successful rehab and mental health rehabilitation programs, reclaiming spaces from illegal encampments, specifically talking about our waterways, and then Homeward Bound, which morphed into the name The Journey Home, which is a reunification program for homeless individuals feeling stranded in Reading, and coordination of churches and charities to help strengthen the city.
So these were all your findings, so then now what? I mean, that's the next question, now what?
So some of these have been able to start running right away. So the Journey Home project, the mission was willing to help facilitate that one. And so what they've been doing is identifying people who do feel stranded in Reading, have a verified support system elsewhere, and they're providing the resources to get them home. And so they just started around Christmas, and they've already been able to have 19 people participate in the program.
Wow.
Yeah, which is amazing. So they're averaging 7 to 10 people a month that they're reuniting with.
And with that, they're sending people home to an actual home, a family. They're making sure that they're going back to a safer situation, basically, for them. They're not just sending them to a halfway house or something back in their area.
Right. It's a verified support system that says, yes, they have if you can get them here in Wisconsin, Michigan, wherever it is, they have a verified housing situation.
So one of the controversial things that kind of came out of your Safe City project, which we have to talk about, is when you were talking about the money situation, like how would we fund some of these things, you brought up potentially the library. Is that correct?
It is.
Okay, so tell us your thought process on that, and then we'll go into some of the other things.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So that part of the, so basically we presented the 11 ideas, and then at the end in my closing, my intention was, City, please don't tell us there's not money to make us safer. And that's something I'd heard throughout the project was, you know what, April, you can come up with great ideas, but if we don't have the money to implement them, then will it be a wasted effort? And so the closing speech was, please don't tell us there's not money to put a front door on the house of our city to make sure we can protect what's valuable on the inside. So rattled off a list of
solutions.
Of ideas around funding, which the library mentioned was definitely the most painful.
I know.
It was, you know, I did not know the history that this community has invested in getting the library to where it's at. And so I was getting phone calls. My cell phone was blowing up as soon as the Safe City project ended. Amazing job. What did you say about the library? And so, you know, I do want to say I utilized the library. We utilized it for the Safe City project. I take my kids there. It's one of the most beautiful architectural buildings in Reading. And I was not trying to start a close the library campaign whatsoever. And I called the director the next morning, Peggy Olay.
Of the foundation. She's the library foundation.
I said, hi, Peggy. My name is April LeFranc. Perhaps you've heard my name this morning.
Peggy's like,
In the last few hours.
I have repeatedly heard your name.
We're almost out of time. I can't believe it. So how can people connect with you with the Safe City project and support what you're suggesting?
So we have a website. It's safecityproject.org. Lists all the solutions we came up with and has a contact form to fill out if you want to connect further.
Well, thank you, April. Yay. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
We're back with Luke Miner, and he is the co-founder of Youcaring.com. And we are really interested to hear about what's going on with Youcaring and now you, because you've kind of moved on from that, and want to hear the background and all of that about you and just how you got it all started.
What is Youcaring?
Let's start there.
Well, that's a great place to start. Youcaring is a crowdfunding website for medical expenses, adoptions, nonprofits. We actually have quite a number of pet fundraisers, so people coming on and raising money for like a pet surgery, mission trips, and tuition are kind of our 6 categories.
Okay, so you actually have 6 defined categories on there.
I think we've expanded since then, but that was kind of the original 6.
Okay. And so how did you, you are a co-founder, and so you had another founder with you. So how did you two meet, and how did it get started? How did you guys come up with this crazy idea to?
It's actually kind of a fun, interesting story. I came to Reading for Bethel and went to the School of Ministry, and then kind of did 2 or 3 years there. And one of the things that we saw that people just didn't do very well was fundraise for money. They're sending people on mission trips and for tuition all the time, and you just see these, really incomplete or partial fundraisers. Where like there's got to be some tool out there that would help these guys raise money for mission trips. Couldn't find anything, so my partner had the original idea, a guy named Brock Ketcher. We met in the School of Ministry, asked me to be a part of it, and so we started building this tool to help people raise money just for mission trips in the beginning, which it then morphed into, and our biggest category and who we've helped the most of is been medical expenses actually, which is just so cool.
That is.
Help people raise probably over $100 million for medical expenses around the world.
Wow.
And isn't adoptions like your next one? The next biggest?
It's like medical expenses. Actually, a lot of people raise money for memorial fundraisers to kind of pay for the all the expenses tied in with somebody dying, and then adoptions is, I can't remember exactly in the lineup, but probably nonprofits next.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a good place to know
So it's a
about
crowdfunding. You want to explain a little bit about what crowdfunding is and how it works?
Yeah, so crowdfunding is essentially when you have a cause or a project to raise money for, and then you put it in front of a kind of a public space and give people. So it starts out with friends and family normally, and every once in a while you might get a larger group of people who are interested in that type of cause to come along and support it. So it's a way for people to give money simply and easily online.
And so you can go out there and basically spread it with anybody, and other people can share your campaign, and then those people can find out from their friends, and it's coming from someone that you generally trust.
Yeah.
And so that's
Absolutely.
why, that's kind of what makes it work.
Right.
And so it starts with, a couple people caring. I hate to kind of go off the name, but it's so easy to do.
Yeah.
But it starts
It's an
off with,
ever-present joke in my friend group.
you care, and then you send it out to your friends, you hope they care, and then so on and so forth. So even $5 helps, or $10 will help someone, whatever you can
Well,
give.
I think somebody posted on their Facebook page for a woman who had adopted some Chinese children, and she needed help. She got cancer, and she had these 2 small children, and she was a single mom, and she was, really in a bad spot. And I did not know the woman at all, but I just empathized with her plight, and I thought, I could give some money. So I didn't know her, but I funded through, and it may have been through Youcaring. But I only found out about it because another friend who had adopted Chinese children posted it on her Facebook page.
Right.
Oh, wow.
And so you
So
trusted.
I didn't even really know that person, honestly, but I knew the group that she was affiliated with.
Right.
So there was enough trust in there, and then the
enough connection, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what a site like this really does
That's
for
amazing.
people. And that's the beauty of the internet.
Yeah. And the most impressive thing I think about Youcaring is that it did start here in the North State.
Absolutely.
With 2 guys here at Bethel, didn't know each other, met each other, decided they liked this idea, let's start it. And then your website at first was kind of, it was interesting. But now it's like, but now it's like this worldwide thing.
You mean kind of like our show?
Yeah, yes. Like the
Season
first
1?
season of our show.
And season now? That's called You Start.
That's
and you
right.
start, and it's not perfect, but
you have to start somewhere.
Right.
You
And
gotta start
now
somewhere.
it's like worldwide. You probably have donors and projects from all over the world
Can you
Absolutely.
track
on your
that?
site.
Yeah, we've had over 100,000 fundraisers through the
Goodness.
site, and it's been through 60 or so different countries.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I'd have to look to get more recent stats, but almost $200 million that's just gone to causes, and I
Gosh.
love it.
So do you have
most
any tips?
amazing.
Say somebody watching is having an issue, they need to raise money for medical, or they are thinking of adopting, they don't know how they would ever pay for it. What are some tips that you could pass on for a successful campaign?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the biggest questions actually that gets asked is, how do I set this up so that we can actually raise the money and promote this cause? I would say it's still the same tools as you would raise money if you're going to person to person. Say as much person to person contact as you can have. So get on the phone with, ask people for money, email them, actually meet with somebody for coffee and explain what you're trying to do. Tell the story. The story is really important. You're actually telling a story, and people get to connect with the story. So
Because really it's just a vehicle.
yeah,
That's all it is
it's a
central
tool.
place. Yeah.
It's a simple tool. It's not the answer. It's a tool to facilitate that to a wider group of people.
So, okay. So one of the big things is, Luke, you are no longer part of the daily workings of Youcaring, but now you've kind of morphed into doing some consulting. So people, there's like a hotbed of entrepreneurs and like people starting all these companies here, and we have them on the show all the time. And now you've kind of become someone that they can talk to. You've done it. You've created a successful business, a successful company. You've gone through the exit strategy. You've done everything. And so you really kind of have this ability to teach other people, or at least help them along in the process. So how do you do that?
Yeah, well, maybe can I back up
Of
and then I'll
course.
come right back to your question.
Only if you come right back.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say after I left the School of Ministry, I really started to fall in love with Reading, and that's when I just started to discover there are so many entrepreneurs here.
Really are.
And there are so many resources. So the question, and that helped us out, so many advisors and programmers, developers, technical people who came along and helped us, really grow the business. So my passion, because I experienced so much of that, of help from other people, is to help other entrepreneurs who have an idea and don't yet know what to take it to the next step, help them get launched. So a lot of times, the most important thing that somebody can do is just come along and say, you can do it.
Yeah.
You can do it. And all the resources are actually at your fingertips. We just have to put them together, but you can do it.
Yeah.
Is, I think, the most important message.
And, I've sat with Luke a few times now, and just very motivating. And I don't know if I can call you, but kind of like a coach, a little bit like I don't know if I can say
No,
that.
that's great.
But someone that if you are talking to them and you say, well, I'm not sure about this, or I'm not sure about that. Starting your own business or any company is really difficult to do. And you and I both know.
We both know.
And so having someone that will tell you, well, here are some of the resources that you can use, or did you know about this, or maybe you should check this out, or asking some questions as to, I'm going to say it, I sat with Luke and he asked me some questions that made me cry.
Oh.
We were talking about a company, but it made me cry because sometimes you don't realize where your desire to do something is coming from.
Right.
And when someone asks those questions like you did, very insightful, it gets down to the deep root of your purpose.
And I think I can tell just from these few minutes that I've been with you, you are keyed in on people's story.
Yes.
Because really the story is the magic.
Yes.
And my
Absolutely.
guess is he helped you dig deep.
He did.
To say, what is the story with Ashley? Why do I want this nonprofit?
Yeah.
Like, why am I even spending my time doing this?
It's true.
And it goes back to that story root.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yep.
Yeah, and if you mentioned that question, why, is such a powerful question, because if you can figure out why you're really motivated to create this business, then I think it eventually becomes inevitable that something happens around that. But if you don't know why, or you can't stand on that foundation, you're probably just going to spin your wheels.
Yeah, because you don't know which path
And
to
you're going to
take.
get off track.
Exactly.
Because every shiny thing is going to come along and try to drag you.
Oh,
and you're going to be like, I have to
absolutely.
follow this. Oh, we have to follow that. Or,
Okay, Chrissy, don't tell everybody how I function. Gosh.
well, I think that's the power of using an expert,
It's true,
right?
yeah.
Is he helps focus you in. And for our viewers who are thinking, gosh, I have an idea. I don't know what to do with this. I don't know if I could ever make money, but I think it would really help people. What are your suggestions for that viewer?
Yeah, I would find one of the most important things I did, which is actually how I got connected to my business partner, was I just started asking anybody around me who had ever started a business as many questions as possible. So coming with that heart to learn. I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, one of the best books I think you could possibly read for business. And then just interviewed people, and I probably got real annoying to some of my friends who
No, but that's the way you
got
do it.
very tired of answering my questions, but I had to learn.
Yeah, and look how successful you are now.
Yeah.
Right? No, really. I mean, right? You have to put in a little work to make that happen, to get the answers that you need.
So it's youcaring.com if people are looking for their crowdfunding site. And then how do
Absolutely.
people get a hold of you personally?
That's a great question. That's a great
You can
question.
contact the station for now.
You can contact the station.
You're in Reading.
I'm in Reading.
Okay.
And you can find me on Facebook, I guess. I'm working on a website, so
Good.
we'll
Okay.
get that up and running pretty soon.
Okay, so through Facebook would be an easy way.
Facebook
friend
or
you
through the station.
Yeah. So Luke, thank you so much for coming on. We just appreciate it. What a great day, huh?
Yeah.
The Safe
Absolutely.
City Project, that's safecity.org if you're thinking, how do I get a hold of April? And for Luke, you spell your last name?
Minor, M-I-N-E-R.
ER, okay, on Facebook. You can get a hold of Luke as well. Is there something you're really interested in that you're thinking, gosh, I'd really like to make an impact with that? This is the time. We hope we've encouraged you today. Thanks for watching The Forum, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.